This bow and this bow were made with exactly the same pattern and the same yarn. So why are they so different? Amigurumis are all about tension. So how to improve it? Are there any tips to make our crochet tension get better? Is there a correct way to hold the yarn while crocheting? Well, come with me in this video because I have some special tips and techniques just for you. Hey guys, I am Bianca and welcome to Crocheniacs. In today's video, we'll talk about tension and more specifically, tension for crocheting amigurumis. And you might be asking yourself, what is tension? Well, tension refers to how tight or loose your crochet stitches are when you are crocheting, and it depends on various factors like your mood, the time of the day, for example. The resulting project can change significantly depending on your tension, with tight tension leading to an amigurumi like this, with very closed stitches, and a loose tension leading to some gaps between stitches. And having said that, there's something very important for me to emphasize. Tension changes. Well guys, tension changes depending on your mood, the time of the day, for example, and it's just like practicing a physical activity. There are some days that we feel like we're rocking it, we feel strong and motivated to go out and walk, run, go to the gym, and we have some other days in which we feel weak and we just want to stay at home, like lay in our bed. So yeah, it's just like a physical activity. And for many reasons, our body has its ups and downs. It also depends, I don't know, with the quality of the food you ate in the previous day and if you had a good night of sleep, for example. And I say that based on my own experience. I worked as an air traffic controller for over 13 years of my life, and every time I wanted to crochet after an overnight shift, my stitches were not as tight as they usually are. And I remember that I always felt a bit frustrated with my amigurumis when I crocheted after this overnight shift. But it took me a while to understand that there was nothing wrong in it. I was just feeling tired and my body was not the same. And it also happens when we crochet like for long hours straight. For sure, your stitches in the end of the day will not be as pretty as they were when you started crocheting like early in the morning that day. But despite all that, things that are out of our control, I do have some special tips for you to improve your tension while you crochet your beautiful amigurumis, and I am pretty sure that tip number 5 will be mind-blowing for you. So tip number 1. Use a smaller crochet hook size. I know I already mentioned it in all the videos here in the channel, but it's true guys, using a smaller crochet hook size is a very simple trick that will help you to get your stitches tighter. And that's why I crocheted these 2 balls here just to show you. This one I crocheted with a 2mm crochet hook size, and this one I used a 3mm crochet hook size. And for both balls I used hobby yarn, this ball of yarn here. This is Friends Cotton 84 from Hobby. I love this yarn. There is another video here in the channel where I show my favorite yarns for crochet amigurumis. I'll leave the link here down below in the description so you can also check this video too. But all in all, as you can see, I used this yarn here for both these balls and you can see that they have like very different sizes. The yarn label from Hobby recommends a crochet hook size from 3 to 3.5 millimeters. I have to be honest here, I tried to crochet with a 3.5 because I wanted like a big different crochet hook size than this one, just to emphasize my point, and 3.5 was too much for this yarn and I couldn't crochet. The gaps were getting like too big and that's not what I wanted. I just wanted to show you that there was a difference. So yeah, a 3.5 I would never recommend for this yarn, just out of curiosity. So you can see that in this small ball here that I crocheted with a 2mm crochet hook size, you can also use a 2.2mm. I just wanted, like, as I said, to make a bigger difference between these two. But at 2mm size, the stitches are very, very tight and no way the stuffing will come out of it because yeah, it's very, very closed. While this one that I used a 3mm crochet hook size, there are some gaps between stitches. It's not ugly at all, but it's a little bit bigger when we compare, which is not a problem also. But what I see as a problem here are those gaps between stitches, especially because when it gets closer to the decreases, we can start seeing the stuffing, and I hate when I start to see stuffing coming out of my amigurumis. So that's why I prefer to keep the stitches very, very tight. There are some gaps in this one that we don't have in this other small ball here. Okay, so for this small ball here, you can see my stitches are very, very tight. This is the magic ring where I started. You cannot see holes between stitches. And this is the inverted magic ring, which is very pretty also. And you see that this is the part that I decreased. I used exactly the same pattern, guys, for the other bow there. And you can see that here I made the increases. You can see one increase here, and here I made the decreases. And you cannot even see the difference because the stitches are very tight, and I used this 2mm crochet hook size. Now compare to the size of this other bow that I did using exactly the same yarn and the same pattern. But I used a 3mm crochet hook size from Tulip. This is the magic ring that I started. You can already see some gaps. I see 1, 2, 3 big gap there. And honestly, I was doing my best when I was using this 3mm crochet hook size because I wanted it to be as closed as possible, but using a bigger crochet hook size was almost impossible. You see lots of holes. The stitches are pretty. I don't say that this is ugly. This is very pretty, but yeah, we can see holes between stitches. And I didn't overstuff it, and that's why you cannot see stuffing coming out of it. But if, besides like making bigger stitches and using a bigger crochet hook size, if I overstuffed it, you would see stuffing coming out of it. You see very closed stitches, and here we see some holes, but it gets ugly in the decreases. When it comes to the decreases, yeah, this is the disaster part. So you see that when we get to the decreases, the holes, the gaps between stitches, they become more evident. Here we can barely see that I am decreasing because there are no holes. While in this ball here that I used the 3mm crochet hook, we can see lots of gaps. And we can also see the stuffing, and oh my god, I don't like when I start to see stuffing coming out of the amigurumi like this. Tip number 2, start from the inside. In a yarn ball, there are 2 ways to start. You can start from the inside and from the outside. Again, I will use this yarn from Hobby as an example. So I told you in this other video too that Hobby has a very easy way to start because they put a label here called Easy Start, which makes everything like very, very easy for us. So yeah, I usually like to start from the inside for a couple of reasons. And one of them is because I like to keep the label of the yarn with me. For example, this is just a blue color, a blue tone, and Hobby has like, I don't know, 10 or more different blue tones. And if I removed this label here, I would never know which number of color is that one. And just so you know, this one here that I crocheted my balls, it's 83. And I have this other one here, which is also a blue tone. I know they're different, but if I didn't have the yarn label and I was crocheting a project and I needed, I don't know, more yarn, I need to purchase more yarn, this makes everything easier for you to go online and buy the yarn that you need. This other one here is 84, so 83, 84. And they have like lots of different color tones. So as I said, this yarn from Hobby is very easy because they have this easy start and you can keep the label, you can start from the inside, as I said, that I usually prefer. But there are some other yarn brands, and even in Hobby they have other types of yarn that do not have the easy start thing. And well, finding the tip of the yarn inside the yarn ball is a bit more complicated. I have this other yarn here, it's also from Hobby, but and I'll do that for the first time here with you because I didn't do that before to test, and I hope it works. So what I usually do is I insert 2 fingers like this inside the yarn ball, and I try to find the tip of the yarn. When I do this, like this thing, from both sides until I find where the tip of the yarn is. So I started here, and I can feel that it's not that easy. Sometimes we do that and it's like a big ball of yarn comes out of it. It's a bit messy, but even though I still prefer to do that. Oh, this side is a bit easier. You see? I found it. So I really prefer to use the yarn from the inside. So tip number 3, use a yarn ball. There are lots of materials available out there, but I just have this one, this cute one. I recently purchased this actually. I've always wanted to have a yarn ball for me. This is a ceramic material, but I have already seen some yarn bowls made of plastic, wood, and it's very simple. The idea is very simple. You just put the yarn inside like this. You put the tip of the yarn that you're going to work like this, and you can start pulling the thread like this. Very simple. And I am not saying that your tension will be perfect after using a material like this ceramic bowl here. I'm just saying that it helps. It's a very easy, simple accessory that you can use in your daily life that will make it a bit easier for you. It's awful when you're crocheting in the sofa, for example, and the yarn ball starts rolling from your hands in the carpet, in the floor, and you have the yarn all well organized in your hands, and you have to stop everything that you're doing to pick up the yarn and organize it again in your hands. And that's it. The main purpose of this yarn ball for me is like you prevent the yarn from rolling from your hands on the floor while you're crocheting, and also when you keep the yarn like this from the inside and pulling in this part of the bowl that you have, it helps with the tension a little bit. There are some materials available out there, as I said before. This one I purchased in a local store here in Finland, but you can buy one of those in Amazon and AliExpress. I did some research to find some good materials for you, and I'll leave the links here down below so you can check where to find this type of yarn balls. Tip number 4. Use the right yarn to practice your tension. I strongly recommend you use a beginner-friendly yarn to start your projects. I mean, if you're a beginner and you still haven't found the perfect tension for your amigurumis, I strongly recommend you start with a friendly yarn like cotton, for example. I have those examples here. This one is Bohemian Velvet from Hobby, and this one is Baby Snuggle. I love these yarns. They are excellent material, but they are 100% polyester. This one is 100%. This one, yeah, also 100% polyester. And this type of material, those plushy and chenille yarns, they are definitely not good for beginners to practice tension. And again, especially if you're a beginner, it's very difficult to see the stitches properly with this type of material. So if you want to practice your crochet tension, use a cotton yarn and avoid those type of materials. You can also try acrylic yarn, but yeah, I'm a cotton fan, and I think you're already tired of seeing me talking about it. I am a cotton fan. I know it hurts our wrists. I've already mentioned it too. That's why It's important to give yourself a rest from time to time, but all in all, I'm a cotton fan and I love how the amigurumi looks with this type of material. And I know it can be a little bit frustrating to say that, but all the tips that I gave so far are very useful. They will help you, and I'm sure they will help you. But the best thing that you can do for yourself, for your crochet tension, is practice. Yeah, guys. Practice, practice, practice. This is the best thing you can do when you're working on your crochet tension. And I know this is probably not the best solution you wanted to hear me saying, but we cannot get better and improve in anything without practicing. Of course, I saved the best for last, and if you're enjoying this video so far, remember to subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up so I can keep creating new tutorials and videos just for you. Tip number 5, the golden loop technique. Well, I am right-handed, which means that I use my right hand to hold the crochet hook and the left hand to hold the yarn and keep the tension in my amigurumi projects. You cannot leave the yarn loose when you crochet. It has to be tensioned like this, very straightened. And the job of your non-dominant hand, in my case is my left hand, is to control this tension, to keep the yarn straight. So the job of your non-dominant hand, in my case is my left hand, is to keep this tension in the crochet project. The way you hold your crochet hook is completely up to you. There is no right or wrong here. I usually hold it like this. There are some people who prefer to crochet like this, others like this, as if they were holding a pen or a pencil, but it's completely up to you, okay? So I already made the magic ring here, but I wanted to show you how I hold my crochet hook. So as I said, I'm right-handed and I hold the yarn in the crochet hook, and my left hand helps me keeping the tension of the yarn. This is something that took me quite a while to develop. I wrap the yarn like 2 times like this. This is usually enough. And this part here, you see that this thread is always straightened like this. I don't let it loose, because if you let it loose, it will be very difficult and it doesn't help with the tension. You want to leave it like this, but also not very tight that you will block the circulation in your hands. This is not something that we want. You see, I was pressing really hard because I wanted to show you, so I stopped the circulation in my hand. This is not good for your crochet, neither to your health, so please don't do that. And it's difficult sometimes in the beginning to find the balance. We don't want it loose. We don't also want it to like very, very tight in your hands. So you have to find a balance between this. So I will make like 1 increase here because I want to show you. So I'm trying to hold it a little bit tighter here just to explain it to you. You see that when I don't let the yarn slips through my hand, this thread becomes shorter and it's more difficult to keep crocheting. You see, this is not what we want because I'm running out of thread here. What I want is the yarn to keep straightened here, but also a bit loose, that when I need more yarn, it simply slides through my hand like this. I will show you one more time. So I keep crocheting, and when I'm running out of thread, I simply do this in a way that it still feels comfortable. It feels comfortable in my hands. I just slide the yarn and keep going. People have different techniques and different ways to hold the crochet hook and also to keep the tension. It depends and it varies from person to person. There are some people who prefer to hold it like this. I hold it like this. others prefer to crochet it like this. It also works, and it's up to you. This is not the way that I like crocheting. It's difficult for me to do it like this. I prefer to hold the hook like this. But you see that the important thing is that this thread is straightened, not loose, but not too tight to like hold your circulation like this. To block, I'm sorry. And I also taught my husband how to crochet, and he knows how to crochet beautiful amigurumis, but he found his own way, his own technique to keep the tension. It's actually a bit funny, but that's how it works for him, and his stitches are very good and very tight. So what is the golden loop? Okay guys, so the golden loop of a crochet stitch is the first loop you pull up after inserting the hook in the stitch you're working in. So I will insert the hook here. So this is my golden loop, okay? And the height of this loop determines the height of the crochet stitch. So if I leave it like this, you see that the first loop doesn't change the size. If I do this, it doesn't change the size. The one that changes is this one. So this one that varies, if it's tight here, the yarn, this will be short in your crochet hook, and you have like a very small stitch. But if you do it like this, you let it loose, you have this golden loop loose, your stitch will be bigger, and it will affect the tension of your amigurumis. And here we want everything the same size. So the smaller the golden loop is, the shorter the stitch, and vice versa. So when we insert here and pull the yarn to have the golden loop, pay attention to not make this. To create the high in the golden loop, always leave it short, very tight in the crochet hook. So when you do your single crochet, you close it, you have a small single crochet, and your stitches will be even. And that's it guys, 5 amazing tips to improve your crochet tension. Please let me know here in the comments what is the trick you use to make your tension even better. And I'll also leave you with this video here because I'm pretty sure you'll like it too.